Hey guys, what's up? It's Deprimido. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here in FL Studio and I'm going to be doing a quick review of a very popular VST called Purity. You've probably heard of it. It's 50 bucks and it's been used by industry producers like mexidodro, Pierre, Bourne, mira, and lots of others, but those are just to name a few off the top of my head. So pretty much I'm just going to run through a few of the sounds, let you listen to them, show you what I think, and yeah, that'll pretty much be it. So starting off, we've got a few different sections here, but let's start in the piano section because it does have drums and stuff, but that's not really what it's used for. It's just mostly for melodic sounds. So starting off in the piano section, the pianos could be a lot better, especially the acoustic pianos. It's got some really good electric pianos and Rhodes and stuff, but the acoustic pianos, they sound kind of thin, kind of tinny, and just not very realistic and not very good. Here's like a quick chord progression using the standard piano. Right, it's not the worst. I've heard worse pianos, but it's not great. I wouldn't really use it in very many beats myself. I mean, FL Keys is better than that. So I really don't like the acoustic pianos in this plugin very much, unless you're specifically going for kind of a thinned out tinny sound, but 99% of the time you're not. With that said, it does have some really great Rhodes pianos like this. Right, and so for that reason and a lot of other sounds, but especially the Rhodes pianos and the electric pianos, it's great for plug beats like mexidodro or Pierre Bourne would make. I will show you an example of a plug beat that I made using just Purity, but I mean, if you're making plug beats, this is the first VST you should really get because it's just so perfect for plug beats. That's what it's really known for. And it's just really, really good for that sound because of Rhodes pianos like this and some other pianos and all of the bells and stuff like that. But pianos, if you're looking to make acoustic beats, I wouldn't really go for this VST. It's not super great in terms of any of the acoustic sounds that it has, including the guitars, stuff like that. But for electric sounds, like these Rhodes pianos, or just synthetic sounds, synths, other stuff like that, I think it's a really good option a lot of the time. It's also got an entire organ section right here. I haven't used it very much. I don't use a lot of organs, but if you do like organs, pretty solid organ section in my opinion. Next, moving on to my favorite section personally, is this bell and perk section. It has a few perks, but it's mostly bells. We can maybe pitch this up an octave. Right, good stuff. Some of these sounds are also kind of tinny, like that one. It does have a lot of very synthetic sounding sounds. They're not super realistic most of the time, but they're not bad, a lot of them. Some of them aren't great, but most of them are pretty good. So this is my favorite section. And then another one of my favorite sections, I don't use many bass guitars, but for when I do, this is kind of the go-to. These bass guitars are fantastic. Right, and there's a lot of different bass guitars. It's got a huge bass guitar section. Lots of different sounds. You got a lot of slap guitars, stuff like that. So it's very good for bass guitars and for bells. Those are probably some of the best sections. It's also got this guitar and pluck section. It's got some interesting stuff, but for the most part, not very realistic, not very good. And again, I wouldn't use this for super realistic acoustic sounds. But with that in mind, there are a lot of good sounds depending on what you're looking for. So I'm just kind of gonna skip over this pretty much because there's not too many good sounds in here. You do have this harp, not too bad, but not great either. Next, the strings, not bad. You know, you've got some pretty decent stuff in the string section. Although I do personally prefer the strings in Expand, which is also quite a bit cheaper. And if you are looking to make more acoustic beats, that's a very good choice. I would recommend getting that before this. And that's really just a very versatile VST that you can use for tons of different styles. So no matter what you're going to make, unless you make a lot of plug beats, I would recommend Expand. But if you do make a lot of plug beats, Purity is easily the best VST you can get, including like Omnisphere, Electra X, those super expensive VSTs. Purity is going to be better for plug beats than pretty much anything else you're ever going to find. I mean, you could make 200 plug beats using nothing but Purity and still not really have it get stale. It's got so many really, really fantastic sounds for plug beats. But for those acoustic beats, as I said, it's not the best. Next, moving on to the brass section. I don't use this too much either. Very obviously synthetic, not very realistic, but a lot of times you do want synth brass for, say, Young Thug type beats or Wheezy type beats, or you know, stuff like that. I think this is a good section to have in your arsenal. It's not bad, but it's just not going to be great for super realistic sounds. Next, you've got this woodwind section. Not too bad, not my favorite, but I do like some of the pan flutes. I like the pan flute quite a bit. I like this blown bottle. But the standard flutes, if I can find them, pretty garbage flutes, if I'm honest. But the blown bottle you can use as a flute, and it sounds really nice. The pan flute, really nice. Lots of pretty good stuff. That piccolo, pretty synthetic. It almost just sounds like a sine wave. Not entirely, but pretty synthetic, obviously. Then getting into where this really shines quite a bit in the lead synth section. It's got some pretty cool stuff. As you can hear, this is also a legato sound, which is kind of cool. So it just slides between the notes instead of hitting individually, whereas if we were to shorten these, you can hear. But if they stretch across each other, it just slides between them, which is kind of cool. And that's not all of the sounds, that's just this one in particular. You know, it's got a lot of really good lead synths, and it looks like all of these are legato, which makes sense because most of the time you're not gonna want a chord on a lead, so it makes sense. But you've got a lot of really good stuff, which is super useful, again, as I said, for the plug beats, stuff like that. And you've also got some good synth basses. And a lot of these are going to shine more if we pitch this down an octave. So as you can hear, very solid sub bass section, synth bass section, and then you've got fast synths. I'm not really sure what the difference between these and the leads are, but apparently there is one. These ones aren't legato, as you can hear. Then you've also got slow synths. These are kind of like pads. A very nice section for pads. I admittedly haven't used this too much, this particular section, but from what I'm hearing, I'll probably start using it a lot more. And then you've also got these Arpeggiators. Now, some of these are pretty good, some of them aren't great, but as you can hear with this one, it's just a hi-hat. It doesn't actually change pitch, so it's a bit strange that it's in the arpeggiator section instead of maybe the drum section, but it is, so that's just kind of something you'll have to deal with. So as you can hear, a lot of these arpeggiators are pretty cool, but the presets themselves aren't really the most important part of this VST. Arguably, the most important part is the fact that you can layer sounds. So the way that you do that is you would just pretty much, I believe, I'm not actually, so you would come in here, go to a new section, pick one, and then it adds it, but you can see it's only playing this top one. But if you press that little chain link button, then it's playing the second one. If we do that, it's also playing the third one. You know, so it's really cool that you can layer sounds like this. You can add stuff, take stuff out, and make some really cool sounds just by layering things. But that's not all. You can also come here to the sequencer. I don't really use this too much. But you can come here to this mixer where you can turn up the chorus that's built in or the reverb. There's some other stuff you can do up here, but really not too important. The only important part is you can change the levels of each individual instrument that you link, and I think you can link up to like 15 instruments, maybe more, maybe less, but somewhere around 15, which is pretty cool. You can adjust the individual level of all of them in case you want to have change the mix a little bit. But you know, for the most part, this stuff in here isn't too important. Over here, you can change the amount of chorus or reverb, and down here is where you change what it sounds like. And then, arguably, one of the more useful parts of the entire VST is this edit section. So like if you were to come to your main instrument, it's going to be different than these ones, but the part that I use the most is just the envelope. This envelope right here is the amplifier envelope, and it's really useful to be able to change the envelope on your sounds. You can do this in most VSTs, so this isn't special, but it's just really useful to be able to change it. Essentially, if you don't know what an envelope does, you've got the attack. So if you turn the attack way up like that, then it's going to have a super long time before it hits. If you turn it all the way down, it hits right away. And if you bring it out a little bit like that, it kind of builds up, right? Then you've got your decay, and you can just move that around. Then you've got the sustain, which you can do around there, just to change where it drops off from. And then the release to change how long it takes to drop off. Pretty simple. I'm not really going to explain how an ADSR works, but this is where it is. And I haven't really gone into learning about how to change all of these other ones and what they do. But one thing that's kind of cool is you can actually change the waveform in a sound. So like, for example, this sound is a sine wave, but you could change it to a triangle wave, and it sounds a little bit different. It's a very small difference, and there's a lot of other things that you can do, but let's see. There's also a panic button right here, which is very necessary. That's not the panic button. Where's the panic button? Right here. Essentially, that just mutes a sound if it's playing for too long, like that one. You just press the panic button, and it stops the sound. So that's very useful to have on any synth especially, but any VST in general. But yeah, so that's pretty much that. This, as I said, this VST, not great for acoustic sounds other than maybe the bell section, because that does have quite a few acoustic bells and stuff. I'm sure that they're actually synthesized, but they sound acoustic. And same with the bass guitar section. This is one of the best bass guitar sections that I found in any VST this cheap. It's very solid, and a lot of them could also work as sub basses. Plus, it's got a very good sub bass section, a very good pad section, stuff like that. All the leads are good. A lot of the electric pianos are really good. But really quickly, I just want to go to a plug beat that I made using only Purity, and just kind of show you how well this works for plug beats. The only thing that I really don't like about this VST is sometimes there's little glitches in the audio. So for example, on this lead that I have right here, the first note, doesn't really fit the way that the other notes do, so we can just listen really quick and you'll understand. Right, so this one sounds different than everything else, including this one, which is the exact same note, same velocity, same everything. It just kind of sounds different. Right, so that's really annoying, and then especially because one thing you could try is putting a note before that and putting the velocity all the way down. Sometimes that'll solve issues like this, like it does right there, but sometimes it won't. It kind of just depends on the sound. But that's one thing. There was also another lead that I used where the first half of the 8 bars were fine, and then the second half, the sounds didn't stop playing. They just continued playing after the note ended for really no reason. I didn't even click them in separately. I just grabbed the first half and dragged it over, and for some reason it was doing that. I also did try clicking it in separately. It did the same thing. And then if I started it from here, it would work normally. But if I started it back here, it didn't. So there are just a lot of weird glitches, especially in the leads. But I haven't noticed that in too many sounds. It's just a few of them. But you can just hear a quick plug melody that I made using only purity. And by the way, guys, if you want to get this melody, it's going to be in my 100 subscriber MIDI kit, which I'm dropping at 100 subs, so make sure you go sub. It's going to be free, and it'll be in the description once I reach 100 subs, so definitely make sure to subscribe so you can get this this loop and a lot of other loops as well, 10 to be specific. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be the video. I hope this was helpful. So thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Subscribe, as I said. Also, go follow me on Instagram and check out the description because I've got my 100K or 1K follower MIDI kit in the description, which is free, which I dropped when I hit 1,000 followers on Instagram. I'm sorry, guys, I cannot talk today at all. But I'm dropping another one at 2,000, so go follow me, go subscribe, and drop me a like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you all in the next one.